You are about to be told something you will not believe, something that contradicts everything you have ever been taught about prayer, about desire, and about how good comes into your life. You have been laboring under a great illusion, striving and pleading with a power you believe to be outside of yourself. Tonight, that ends. I am going to ask you to do something for just one night. Not a ritual of begging, but an act of profound spiritual surrender. This is not about influencing the outer world. It is about a radical inner shift that allows the outer to conform. The world you see is but a shadow cast by the light of your own consciousness. Change the light, and the shadow must change. What I will share with you is not a method, but a principle. Not a request to God, but a realization of God. This is the sacred transition from being a seeker to being the embodiment of the sought. You will cease being a beggar at the door, and remember, you are the master of the house. If you are ready to lay down the burden of personal will, to for just one night engage in this conscious union, then what you have longed for can find its place in you by morning. Stay with this. Listen deeply, not with your intellect, but with your inner ear. This is your individual appointment with the infinite. Let this listening be your first act of commitment. Then let your subscription to this channel be a sacred sign, an outer symbol of your inner agreement to walk this path. And in the comments below, speak the number 7, the number of spiritual fulfillment, to bear witness that you have chosen to move from the world of effect to the realm of cause. You have spent a lifetime in mental argument, have you not? A ceaseless, internal debate between hope and fear, between what you desire and what you currently see before you. This is the great labor, the exhausting effort of the mind that believes it must figure it all out, plan every step, and wrestle circumstances into submission. You think of your goal, and immediately the mind presents a list of obstacles. The finances that are not there, the people who stand in your way, the time that has already been lost. And so you strive outwardly, you push and you force, you try to manipulate conditions and people, you send out resumes into the void, you plead in prayer to a distant God, you affirm and visualize with a sense of desperation clinging to each thought. This is what we are instructed to cease. Not the legitimate action, but the frantic, fear-based striving that springs from a belief in separation. It is the consciousness of lack, aggressively trying to get. It is the very activity that proclaims, I do not have, therefore I must struggle to obtain. Consider the simple act of planting a seed in the earth. Does the gardener dig it up each morning to check on its progress, to worry over its form, to beg it to grow? No. He plants it in faith, knowing the law of life is within the seed itself. His labor was in the preparation of the soil, but now he must cease that labor and trust the process. Your mental argument is that constant digging up of the seed. You are so busy examining the bare ground of your current circumstances, arguing with its barren appearance, that you never allow the law within the seed to operate. You are trying to do the growing yourself, through sheer mental force. This is an impossibility. To cease mental argument is to lay down the burden of being the architect, the builder, and the laborer of your own life. It is to step back from the constant commentary, the planning, the rehearsing of conversations, the anticipation of problems. When a thought of lack or fear arises, a thought about that bill, that health concern, that relationship, you do not engage it in debate. You do not try to fight it with a positive thought. That is merely more argument. You recognize it for what it is, a shadow on the wall, cast by the flickering light of your own misdirected belief. You see it, and you let it pass. You withdraw the fuel of your attention. You are not ignoring the circumstance. You are ignoring the false sense of power the circumstance claims to have over your inner peace. This is the first, most critical step, because it creates the inner space, the quiet, fertile soil, for something entirely new to emerge. Until this noise ceases, you cannot hear the gentle, constant hum of your own being. You are like a man in a crowded, shouting marketplace, trying to hear a distant melody. He must first step away from the crowd. Your marketplace is your own thinking. The goal tonight is not to change your thinking, but to step back from it, to observe it without becoming entangled in its drama. Think of a problem that weighs on you now. Feel how the mind instantly leaps to define it, to resent it, to solve it. Feel the tension that creates in the body. Now, imagine, just for this one night, declaring a moratorium on that entire internal process. You are not solving the problem tonight. You are not even thinking about the problem tonight. You are instead turning your attention to something infinitely more present, more real. You are turning from the shadow, play on the wall, to the source of the light itself. This is not passive. It is the most active thing you can do, for it is the act of redirecting the very power of your consciousness from the effect to the cause. You are ceasing to be a reactor to the world and becoming a beholder of the infinite possibility that animates the world. The moment you truly cease that mental argument, a profound silence descends. In that silence, nothing is lacking, nothing is in danger. In that silence, you are already whole, already complete, and from that wholeness, all harmonious form must spring. The outer striving stops, because the inner war has ended. You have come home, and from this place of peace, all action you take tomorrow will be inspired, natural, and effective, no longer born of panic, but flowing from a deep inner certainty. This is the foundation upon which the entire night's practice rests. Without this conscious cessation, we merely rearrange the furniture in a burning house. With it, we step out of the house of limitation entirely and stand under the open sky of spiritual freedom. This silence you have entered, this conscious cessation of mental argument, is not an empty void. It is a living presence, a field of pure awareness waiting to be recognized. This is what we mean by entering the silence of inner prayer. It is not the prayer of words, of petitions sent out into the night. It is the prayer of listening, of humble attention, of becoming so still that you can hear the hum of your own being, which is the very activity of the infinite. You are not going somewhere to find this silence. You are peeling back the layers of noise that have obscured it. The thinker must become quiet so that the knowing can be revealed. Imagine standing before a still, deep pond at twilight. The surface is agitated by the wind, rippled and broken, reflecting nothing but confusion. This is the ordinary state of the mind engaged with the world, reacting, churning, distorting. To enter the silence is to wait for the wind to cease. Gradually, the ripples subside. The surface becomes like glass, and now, for the first time, the pond can perfectly reflect the moon and the stars above. The moon was always there. The stars were always present, but the disturbed surface could not register their reality. Your consciousness is that pond. The peace, the wisdom, the guidance you seek are like those stars, ever present, eternal. But your mental agitation has made them seem absent. Inner prayer is the patient, intentional allowing of the surface to grow calm so that the heavens can be seen reflected in you. In your daily life, you experience flickers of this. It is that sudden, unexpected moment of peace in the shower, where for no reason, all worry lifts. It is that split, second upon waking, before the world rushes in, when you exist in pure, unidentified being. It is the absorption you feel when watching a sunset so magnificent it silences your internal dialogue. These are not accidents. They are glimpses of your natural state. The practice tonight is to move from accidental glimpse to conscious dwelling. You are not creating a new state. You are returning to your native homeland. So how, practically, do you enter this silence? You begin by settling the body, perhaps sitting comfortably, and you turn your attention inward. You are not fighting thoughts. That would be more noise. Instead, you become the observer of the traffic on the mental road. You watch the thoughts go by. The memory of the day's slight, the list for tomorrow, the replay of an old conversation, and you simply do not get on the bus with any of them. You see the thought about the unpaid bill, and you acknowledge there is a thought about a bill, and you let it continue down the road without you. You do not engage it, analyze it, or fear it. You withdraw the energy of your identity from it. This act of gentle observation is the wind ceasing. At first, the traffic may seem busier than ever, precisely because you are now noticing it. But persist without judgment. Then shift your attention from the content of the mind to the context. Feel the awareness itself that is doing the noticing. Feel the space in which the thoughts appear. That space is silent, vast, and untouched by the passing thoughts. Rest your attention there. You might focus on the simple feeling of being alive, the sensation of breath entering and leaving without any effort on your part, not controlling the breath, but feeling the miracle of it. This is not a breathing exercise. It is using the breath as an anchor to the present moment, to the alive silence that underpins everything. Or you might silently, gently, turn a word of significance over in the mind, like presence, or one, not as a chant, but as a soft pointer, a feather touch to remind you of the direction you are facing inward toward the source. This is where the magic, the sacred alchemy, truly begins. In this cultivated silence, you are not a person praying to God. You are individual consciousness consciously feeling its unity with the all. You are the drop of water aware of being the ocean. In this atmosphere, every thought is imbued with a creative power that frantic, fearful thinking could never possess. You are no longer broadcasting on a cluttered, static-filled frequency. You have tuned your entire being to a clear, pure channel. In this silence, you are not asking for anything. You are abiding in the fullness of everything. You are, in the most profound sense, at home. And from this home, all things are possible because you are no longer seeing from the perspective of the problem, but from the perspective of the limitless solution that is your own divine nature. This inner prayer is the gateway. It prepares the soil so perfectly that the seed, when it is placed, needs only to be left alone to fulfill its own divine mandate. Now, from that profound and living silence, a subtle but critical shift must occur. You have stepped out of the marketplace of thought and into the temple of your own awareness. Here, in this clarified space, you may feel the old forms of your desires rise again, the specific image of the perfect job, the exact dollar amount needed, the precise outcome for a relationship. This is the moment of true spiritual discernment. This is where you are instructed to release the specific form of your desire. This feels like a paradox, does it not? To want something, yet to let go of what it looks like. But understand this. Clinging to the form is the final anchor keeping you in the realm of personal will and limitation. It is the last vestige of the belief that you, as a separate self, know the one and only correct path to your fulfillment. You are, in essence, telling the infinite exactly how it must appear. This is not faith. It is spiritual dictatorship. Consider the child who aches for a parent's love. The child may have a specific form in mind, a hug at a certain time, words spoken in a particular way. If the parent expresses love through a patient lesson, a quiet act of care, or a gift of time, the child, fixated on the expected form, may completely miss the love being given. The child's predetermined picture blocks the actual, and often better, manifestation of the very thing desired, the feeling of being loved. Your desire is not for the specific car, the specific person, or the specific sum of money. These are merely forms your consciousness has grasped at to represent a deeper, formless need, the need for freedom, for companionship, for security, for expression, for peace. The desire is spiritual at its core. It is a movement of your being toward a greater experience of its own completeness. By clutching the form, you confuse the symbol for the substance. In your daily life, you have likely experienced the misery of this fixation. You wanted a particular promotion only to be denied it, and in your heartbreak, you failed to see how that closed door led you to start your own business, which became a far greater expression of your talents. You longed for a specific person to return your affection, blind to the new, more harmonious relationship entering your life from an unexpected direction. Your vision was so narrowed by the form, you demanded that you could not perceive the greater good already assembling itself on your behalf. The universe operates with a wisdom far exceeding your personal memory and foresight. It sees the interconnectedness of all events. It knows what needs to fall away and what needs to align for a harmony that benefits not just you, but the entire tapestry of life you are part of. So tonight, in the silence, you practice this sacred release. You take the deep, formless feeling behind your want, the feeling of financial freedom, of vibrant health, of creative joy, of loving companionship, and you acknowledge it. You honor that stirring within you as a divine impulse, a movement of the whole expressing itself as your individual longing. Then, you consciously disentangle that pure feeling from the limited picture you have painted around it. You say, in effect, I rest in this feeling of wholeness and freedom. I release my need to define how this wholeness must look. I trust the infinite intelligence that gave me this desire to fulfill it in the way that serves the highest harmony. This is not resignation. It is the highest form of co-creation. It is moving from being the anxious painter, desperately trying to control every brushstroke on the canvas, to being the canvas itself, willingly receiving the masterpiece. You are making room. You are declaring your openness. You are shifting your identity from the beggar who wants a specific coin to the beloved child who knows the entire household is theirs. When you release the form, you are not giving up the substance of your good. You are giving up your limitation of it. You are trading the seed for the forest. You are trading the single note for the entire symphony. Feel the liberation in this. All the anxiety about the how, the when, and the through whom simply melts. The burden is lifted from your shoulders. Your only work is to abide in the feeling of the fulfilled state, the peace of freedom, the vitality of health, without scripting the movie. This opens a channel so wide and clear that the intelligence of the universe can flow through unobstructed, often in ways so ingenious and perfect they will leave you in awe. It may bring the exact form you imagined, but now it will come as a gift, not as a prize you wrestled from life. More often, it will bring something better, something you could not have conceived because your vision was bound by your past. By releasing the form, you invite a miracle. You step out of the way and allow the infinite, I am, that you are to express itself in, through, and as your experience, in the perfection of its own design. This is the point where personal hope becomes spiritual certainty. Abiding in the conscious oneness of being is the natural state that follows the great release. Having let go of the specific form, you are no longer a seeker looking for something outside yourself. You are no longer a separate I in a silent room hoping to connect with a distant God. You are now abiding in the realized truth that the silence, the awareness, the very presence you are feeling is itself the divine reality. You and it are not two. The ocean is not separate from the wave. The wave is the ocean in expression. Your individual awareness is not separate from infinite awareness. It is a localized point of its total activity. To abide here is to rest in this as your fundamental, unshakable identity. It is to consciously be what you have always been, but forgotten, the very substance of life itself, individualized. This is not a mystical abstraction reserved for mountaintops. You have touched the edges of this feeling in moments of pure, unself-conscious flow. It is the athlete in the zone where the sense of a separate runner vanishes and there is only the running, a perfect unity of action and being. It is the musician lost in the music, where the fingers on the instrument move not from separate calculation, but from a deep inner knowing that is one with the melody. It is the artist whose hand seems guided by a vision that flows through them. In those moments, the anxious, calculating self is absent, and what remains is a unified field of intelligent action. That is a glimpse of abiding in the oneness of being. The difference tonight is that you are not achieving it through an external activity. You are consciously choosing to sit in the heart of that unity as the source of all activity. So how do you abide? You do not strive to reach it, for you are already there. You simply notice what is already true. From the silence, you begin to feel not just an absence of noise, but a presence, a palpable, living reality. Feel the aliveness in your hands. That aliveness is not personal. It is the same intelligence that beats your heart, that digests your food, that grows a tree from a seed. It is the one life living as you. Your awareness of this aliveness is that life being aware of itself. Rest in that recognition. Let your sense of self expand from the small, biographical, the one with a name and a history of problems, to this larger, animating I am. This I am has no problems. It is pure potency, pure being, pure peace. It is the canvas upon which the picture of your life is painted. In this abiding, there is a profound shift in responsibility. The separate you, the manager of your life, has abdicated the throne. You are no longer trying to make things happen. You are allowing the one life to live you, to express as you, to unfold your experience from its own infinite perfection. Think of yourself as a window. For most of your life, you have been a window covered in mud and grime, struggling to see the light, trying to polish yourself from the outside. In the silence, you began to clean the grime. In releasing the form, you stopped trying to paint a specific picture on the glass. Now, in abiding, you simply become clean, clear glass. You do nothing but let the light, the one being, shine through you unobstructed. Your only job is to remain clear, to not cover yourself again with the mud of fearful thoughts or personal demands. This is an active passivity. It is a vigilant resting. Thoughts will come, memories, snippets of planning, echoes of old worries. But now, from this abiding place, you see them not as commands to obey, but as clouds passing through the vast sky of your true nature. You do not fight them. You do not follow them. You simply acknowledge that is a thought. and you return your attention to the feeling of being the sky itself, spacious, silent, and unchanging. You feel yourself as the witness, the container, the very substance in which all appearances arise and subside. You abide as the ocean, not as the tossing wave. Here, in this conscious oneness, desire transforms. It is no longer a hunger from a place of lack. It becomes a gentle, magnetic power of agreement. As you abide in the feeling of wholeness, you are in a state of perfect resonance with the wholeness that is the universe. You are a tuning fork vibrating at the frequency of fulfillment itself. And the universal law is that like attracts like. By being peace, you attract circumstances that resonate with peace. By being the consciousness of abundance, you become a magnet for ideas, opportunities, and resources that express abundance. You are not attracting things to you, you are discovering them within you as you appearing in your experience. You are the center from which all harmony radiates, and by abiding consciously in that center, the entire universe must rearrange itself to reflect that harmony back to you. This abiding is the most powerful creative act there is, for it aligns your individual expression with the infinite creative principle. You are not doing, you are being, and from that being, all doing flows effortlessly, perfectly, and on time. From this place of conscious abiding, from this rock, solid identity as the clear, open window for the infinite, a profound allowance takes place. This is not an allowance born of hope, but of knowing. You have shifted states. You are no longer in the state of seeking, but in the state of being the very thing you sought. And from this state, fulfillment can only unfold from within. It cannot come from outside, for you have realized there is no true outside. The world of effects you see is the out picturing, the projection of the inner state of consciousness. When you abide as wholeness, the projection must change to reflect its source. To allow fulfillment to unfold from within is to understand this spiritual law so completely that you release every last shred of anxiety about the process. You become a calm, expectant witness to the intelligence of your own being arranging the perfect outer symphony. Think of a sunflower in a field. It does not strain to reach the sun. It does not fret over the clouds of yesterday or worry if the sun will rise tomorrow. It is organically, naturally oriented toward the light. Its entire structure, the heliotropic nature of its stem, the broad face of its bloom, is designed to receive. And because it is in a state of perfect receptivity, aligned with the source of its life, the sun pours its energy into the plant, and the plant grows, fulfills its purpose, and produces its seeds. The sunflower allows its fulfillment to unfold from the law of its own nature in relationship with the sun. You are that sunflower. The sun is the infinite, I am. Your alignment in the silence, your release of form, your abiding in oneness, this is you turning your face fully toward the light. Now, you must simply allow the light to do what light does illuminate, nourish, and cause growth in perfect accordance with its own nature. In your practical affairs, this allowance means the complete cessation of checking. It means you will not, upon rising tomorrow, rush to the window to see if your desired manifestation has arrived on the lawn like the morning paper. That very act of checking is a betrayal of the state you cultivated. It is a reversion to the old consciousness of lack and separation. It proclaims, I am here, and my good is out there, and I must see if it has come. That single thought, that impulse to check, can shatter the clear glass you have become. It reintroduces the very duality the entire night's work was designed to dissolve. Instead, you move through your morning with the quiet, internal knowing of the sun's presence, even on a cloudy day. You know the light is there because you are aligned with it. Your actions are not taken to force an outcome, but are inspired from this inner alignment. You answer the phone, you open the email, you go about your routine, not as a desperate seeker, but as the embodiment of the fulfillment you have allowed. This is where faith becomes substance. It is not faith in an event, but faith in your own realized being. You have felt the reality of the one life as your life. That feeling is the substance. The outer form that will match this feeling is as inevitable as an apple forming from an apple blossom. The blossom does not worry about becoming the apple. It simply is the blossom expressing the law of the tree. You have become the blossom of your desire by embodying its spiritual essence, freedom, love, peace. Now, you let the law of your being produce the fruit. Your only task is to protect the state. This means vigilant stewardship of your inner atmosphere. If a thought of doubt arises, what if this doesn't work? You do not engage it in battle. You see it as a phantom, a shadow from the old, discarded state. You smile inwardly, and you gently return your attention to the feeling of the fulfilled state. You might remember the depth of the silence you knew, or the expansive sense of oneness. You recalibrate. You reaffirm not with words, but with feeling, I am that. This is not denial of the outer picture. It is allegiance to a higher truth. You are choosing to live from the cause, not from the effect. And as you do this, a subtle but unmistakable confidence arises. It is not the arrogance of personal will, but the humility of being a perfect instrument. You begin to notice small synchronicities. The right book catches your eye. A friend calls with unexpected information. An old obstacle suddenly dissolves without your effort. These are not the fulfillment itself, but the first gentle rustlings of the leaves indicating the river is near. They are evidence of the inner adjustment. They are the universe beginning to mirror your internal shift. Do not jump at them as proof. Simply acknowledge them as natural signs of harmony. Continue to abide, continue to allow. The greater unfoldment is proceeding according to a divine schedule you cannot possibly comprehend. Your absolute trust is the final ingredient. It is the catalyst that allows the invisible substance of your consciousness to coalesce into visible, tangible form in your world. By morning, you may not see the final form, but you will feel the tectonic shift within. And feeling that, you will know, with a certainty beyond all evidence of the senses, that the outer world has no choice but to follow. It is law. This, then, is the summation of the entire principle, the final, focused application that condenses the infinite into a single, transformative night. To practice this as a single night of surrender is to enact a spiritual experiment of the most profound order. It is not a test of God, but a test of your own willingness to live the truth you have glimpsed. This one night is a concentrated lifetime of spiritual practice. It is the microcosm of the macrocosm. You are taking the journey from the world of effect back to the cause, from the noise of the marketplace into the sanctuary of the soul. And you are doing it with the urgency and purity of a focused intention. Tonight is not about beginning a long, arduous path. It is about realizing that the entire path exists in this very moment, and you are choosing to walk its entire length in the concentrated space between sunset and sunrise. Think of it as a sacred vow of silence between you and the universe, but a silence more active than any speech. You are vowing, for this one period, to let the old man, the old woman, the one who struggles, doubts, and plans, retire. You are granting that weary identity a night off. In its place, you are stationing the conscious awareness of your true identity as the witness, the abider, the very expression of the one life. This is not passive. It is the most dynamic act of will you can perform, the will to surrender personal will. You are deciding that for these hours, you will not manage your life. You will let life live you. You will observe the mechanisms of thought and emotion, not as their master, but as the silent, loving space in which they temporarily arise. This concentrated practice breaks the hypnotic spell of years of habitual thinking. It creates a crack in the wall of separation so wide that the light of a new day can flood in. How, practically, do you structure this night? It begins with your intention as you read these words. You set it apart as holy. You commit. Then, as you move through your evening, whether you are preparing a meal, bathing, or resting in your chair, you carry this inner work with you. You are not withdrawn from the world, but you are anchored in a different dimension of it. When a thought about tomorrow's meeting arises, you do not follow its thread into worry or rehearsal. You gently note, that is a thought about tomorrow, and you return your attention to the feeling of presence right now, to the aliveness in your hands, to the silent awareness behind the eyes. You are not fighting the world. You are seeing it from a new citadel within. When you lie down to sleep, this is the most potent phase. The body's surrender to sleep is the perfect physical analog for the spiritual surrender you are practicing. As the body lets go, you consciously let go of the mental and emotional grip on your life. You might use the quiet, sinking feeling of drowsiness as a trigger. Feel yourself sinking not just into the mattress, but into the boundless ocean of your own being. You are not a person going to sleep. You are consciousness, preparing to rest in its source. If specific desires or fears flicker in the mind, you do not resist them. You see them as you would see images on a screen as you drift off in a cinema. They have no power. You are the awareness watching the screen. You fall asleep in that awareness. This is the supreme act of trust. To relinquish control at the very threshold of the unknown, not with trepidation, but with the certainty that you are entrusting yourself to yourself. And what of the morning? You will awaken. And the first moment, that precious sliver of time between sleep and the world, is critical. Do not let the old mental machinery engage. Before you remember your name, your problems, or your plans, remember what you are. Feel again the expanse. Touch that silence. For a few conscious breaths, be the abider. Then, as you rise, carry that atmosphere with you like a gentle fragrance. You are not looking for proof. You are being the proof. Your actions will be guided, not forced. Your words may be wiser. Your reactions will be calmer. You will move through your day not as a beggar, but as a king in disguise, knowing your kingdom is within and therefore all around you. The manifestations, the healed condition, the new opportunity, the resolved conflict, are the inevitable adjustments of the outer to the inner. They may come with startling speed, or they may unfold with a grace that reveals a perfection you could not have engineered. Your single night of surrender has recalibrated your entire being to its native frequency. You have, for one night, stopped interfering with the signal. And now, the music of the spheres can play through you, clear and undistorted. This practice is not a one-time event, but a doorway. Once you have passed through, you can never fully believe in the old world of separation again. You have remembered, and in that remembering, you have given the universe permission to reflect your remembrance back to you in every detail of a life made new